On the hotline from somewhere in the Palmetto State, we welcome you back to the program, Governor Romney. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Kevin. Good to be back with you. It's been a while.
Yeah, been a while. Had you on in 2008. In fact, let me start with that. What did you learn? What have you learned since the 2008 campaign that's maybe made you a better candidate, more prepared to be the president here in 2012?
Well, one of the things I did was sit down and write a book about my vision for the country and what it takes for America to remain strong. And I called the book No Apology, obviously contrasting with the president's apology for America around the world. I believe this nation is an exceptional land with an exceptional mission, and I have worked very hard to try and get America back to a track of being the shining city on a hill. So that's one of the lessons I learned from writing that book, and I look forward to taking that experience and helping getting this economy going again.
Well, and with your economic plan, Governor Romney, let's talk about it. If you're able to get the election and you implement, where does it start? What do you want to do to get people back to work?
Well, I've had the occasion to work around the world, to compete with businesses outside the United States. I learn why jobs come and why they go. And I have a series of things we have to do to get America competitive again and to start creating jobs. One, we have to get our employer tax rate competitive with other countries. We're not now. Two, we have to get the regulators to realize their job is to encourage industry, not to stifle it. Three, we've got to take advantage of our energy resources, our oil, our gas, coal, nuclear, renewables. Four, we've got to open up more markets for American goods, and we've got to clamp down on cheaters like China that have been stealing American jobs. So those are a few of the highlights. Basically, we got to make America the most attractive place in the world for job creators, and that's happening to a degree here in South Carolina with the announcement of the Continental Tire plant, with the BMW plant that's been here for a while, with Boeing expanding here. We got to do more of that across the country.
You talked about China stealing jobs. What about when we hand jobs to China, like with Keystone not coming here, and now Canada can negotiate with China?
I find it absolutely extraordinary that the president is bowing to the demands of his most extreme radical environmentalists and sacrificing American jobs, sacrificing our economy in order to make some people on the far left happy. I just can't believe it. We should develop the Keystone Pipeline, take advantage of North American energy. It's an unthinkable conclusion that this president's reached, and it comes because he's playing crony capitalist, taking care of his cronies.
We're talking with Governor Mitt Romney, candidate for the Republican nomination for president. Governor, this doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but I think it's important. What's going to happen with all the money that's sitting on the sidelines that's not in play right now? People are so uncertain. You don't know about Obamacare. You don't know what's going to happen for your business. You have no idea about the Bush tax cuts, what's going to happen with that. No idea what the Democrats want to do in raising taxes. How can you blame anybody at this point for staying on the sidelines?
Well, you're right, Kevin. I spoke with one executive who said he'd been invited to the White House, and they asked him how come his company wasn't using some of their cash to build enterprises here in the United States. And he said he turned back to the person who asked him the question, and he said, that's a question you ought to ask yourself, because this administration has made America a less attractive place for business, for investment, and for job creators. That's why we're having such trouble creating jobs. And so I agree with you. This administration, its policies from Obamacare to cap and trade to card check to putting labor stooges on the labor board, all these things have made it very difficult for America's businesses to get going again.
Let's go over some of the things, Governor Romney, that people have called concerns about you, so you can kind of put some of these things to rest. Take me through where you're at and clarify the whole thing for gun control.
Well, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I do not believe we need any new legislation related to guns. That's my view. I've held that view since, actually, I was asked about this when I ran 4 years ago. I have exactly the same position today as I had then.
And the pro-life, pro-choice thing, I think you've explained when you made it real clear in the Boston Globe editorial, but for folks that didn't see the debate, haven't heard the explanation, let's clarify it.
Well, when I became governor, a piece of legislation reached my desk which would have allowed for the creation of new human embryos for the purpose of testing and ultimately to destroy them. And I said I simply cannot sign that. I vetoed that legislation. I said I am pro-life. And the Massachusetts Citizens for Life, I think just last week, wrote a letter saying that I was a strong advocate of a pro-life position as governor. That was 7, 8 years ago. I'm proud to be pro-life, and will take that posture with me to the White House if I'm lucky enough to be elected.
Here's one that I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about that. I've heard some people say, hey, Mitt Romney is too plastic. He's too much of a trained politician. Let us in a little bit. I mean, what do you do to loosen up? What helps you wind down? Sports, music, what do you like to do?
Well, first of all, as you probably know, I've only spent 4 years in politics. I was a governor for 4 years, and I joke that I didn't inhale. My life has been in the private sector, and as a father of 5 sons and a grandfather of 16 grandkids, what I like most in the world is to hang out with my kids and my grandkids and to play with them. And whether that's at a park or at the side of a lake or the ocean or playing volleyball, I mean, we're a very active family. We have something we call the Romney Olympics, where we all compete with one another. I'm not as good an athlete as my sons are, but playing with them is one of the best things I know. And of course, I like to watch football as much as anything in the world. I enjoy that a great deal. I do some reading too. At the end of the day, I try and spend a half an hour or so reading something of enjoyment. But and you know what? I also like TV. So I don't see much TV, but shows like Modern Family, NCIS. Those are some of the favorites in my house.
Let me get back to a couple things on the issue front from what you're hearing traveling from one end to South Carolina to the other. A lot of times while you're traveling with our governor, Nikki Haley, South Carolina is battling the federal government so much lately. The beef with the NLRB and the unions, the voter ID, immigration, even on Yucca Mountain. I mean, I don't understand why it's become such a battle. And I'll use Yucca Mountain as an example because it's really punched us in the gut here in South Carolina. Obama goes and saves Harry Reid's job for him, and that's fine. I understand that politics is politics. But Governor Romney, we've put in $1.2 billion to help prepare for Yucca Mountain. We don't have that kind of money in South Carolina. Not that anybody does, but we really need that money back. So what do we do to get it back?
Well, you elect me as president because my view is either the federal government provides a storage facility for spent nuclear fuel for South Carolina, and by the way, for other states as well, or the states that have been putting money into this fund should get their money back. It's pretty straightforward. And if I'm president, that's the course I'll take.
Talking to Governor Mitt Romney for a few more moments. Let's go foreign policy for a few moments. Inauguration is about a year away if you're blessed enough to get the presidency. But if you're President Romney tomorrow and you get word that Iran's really close or that they have the nuclear weapon ready, and that's an extreme hypothetical situation. I get that. But, I mean, on Iran, I don't know if it's going to wait another year until you or someone else gets the job. It might be President Obama that has to deal with it before then. What do we do if it happens tomorrow?
Well, the right course, of course, is for us to have already put in place crippling sanctions. That hasn't happened. The right course was for the president to stand with the dissidents that took to the streets, arguing to change the regimes. The president didn't do that either. The right course is to have military options prepared so that we can prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear nation. And that's something which we can work on a collaborative basis with our ally Israel and with others in the region, or something which we would have to consider on our own. The president needs to communicate that we have those military options and that we are prepared to take them to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear terrorist. The idea of the world's leading sponsor of terrorism becoming nuclear and being able to provide nuclear material to groups like Hezbollah and Hamas is simply unthinkable.
You know, you've talked about the handling of Iraq and Afghanistan, saying it's been done more politically by President Obama than practically. How do you handle Iraq? How do you handle Afghanistan going forward?
Well, again, Iraq was a great success by our fighting men and women, particularly following the surge effort and the president's decision to withdraw all of our troops, leaving not even a small group behind to aid in transition, was a very serious error on his part. And the right course would have been to maintain a troop level there of somewhere between 5 and perhaps 20,000 troops. In Afghanistan, the president is unfortunately pulling the troops out about 3 months too early in the middle of the fighting season. Look, I think he's following a political calendar rather than a military calendar. I think it jeopardizes the success of our missions there. The right course is to make decisions based upon what's right for the country and our national interests rather than what's best for his reelection.
Hey, if you win the nomination, you're not going to steal Nikki Haley for vice president, are you?
I'm sure she's one of many leading contenders for national leadership in our party. She's a terrific governor. I've got no idea who's going to be the vice president. A little presumptuous at this point for me to even think of such a thing. But I could not be more pleased than to have her support. She is fabulous.
This is likely our last chance to visit with you before Saturday and the people hit the polls. What is it, Governor Romney, one thing that you want all of the WVOC listeners to remember that's most important to you and about you?
I want to restore American values of freedom and free enterprise and opportunity. This president's trying to turn us into a European-style social welfare entitlement state. That's the wrong course for America. I want to restore the greatness of America. I know how to do that. I spent my career in the private sector. I know how this economy works. I'm going to use that knowledge to get America working again. And I really would appreciate the votes of the people of South Carolina because I want to get myself in a position to defeat this president.
Safe travels to you. It's great visiting with you again. We hope to hear from you again after the whole process is over.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to be with you.
Thanks for the time. Governor Mitt Romney joining us on the program and talking with us about his candidacy.